What's going on, everybody? We are back. We are live on Google Plus, live on Facebook Live, and we're not live on YouTube, but we're going to be on YouTube, so whatever. We're back with the guys from a couple Marks Wrestling. They're back with us again. You know, we're taking over everything, so we're taking over them too. You know, we took over Wrestle Talk Media. It's the whole thing. You can check it out on Facebook. We're taking over. We are, but. We had an idea for a discussion that Chris and Cameron actually gave me this idea inadvertently on their predictions for what the
Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. I got you.
I kept wanting to say Great Testicles Ablaze because I keep saying that.
That was a hot tag moment right there, DJ.
Because I wanted to. That's gonna go down in history on the network as Great Ball. Anyway,
Dang.
They mentioned that guys like Roman Reigns and Cena are so durable that they don't get injured, so they're on TV all the time. So we don't get time to kind of miss them. They don't get that time off to be missed or reinvent themselves or really do anything. I mean, Cena comes out with a different colored shirt every couple of weeks, but that's not really a change. And I mean, he is, a part-timer now until they stop the draft. But anyway, so we're talking about how injuries could kind of be a good thing. I mean, obviously we don't want anyone to get injured because that's never a good thing. Anytime you're out of the ring and that's your job, obviously you're not getting paid unless you work for WWE and then you're still under contract. So you're still getting paid, whatever. But DJ, since you kind of are the I told you this last. Any thoughts on the I guess guys getting injured or lack thereof with Roman and Cena?
So since you told me this last, and I have less time to think, it makes sense that I go second. Okay, you know what? That's fine.
Seems legit.
I mean, what was that title you just won? The King? So you're the King. So
yeah, true. I'm the King. That's a fact.
This is like the backstage.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Big Show figured out he was going into the Punjabi prison match with Batista. Just confused everybody.
It is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in a weird way, yes, they kind of are a good thing, but they can also be a bad thing.
Well,
because physically, duh. But I mean, in the same concept that we're saying that they're a good thing. Now, like, I miss DJ Z terribly right now in Impact because he got his colon destroyed in a match taking a freaking Phoenix Splash.
Yes.
But then again, you look back to before Roman got his big push, and he had what was that freaking injury? I can't even remember what it was. It was like a
sports hernia.
Sports hernia injury. I thought it was something crazy. It was a sports hernia injury, and that didn't help him at all. Like, people were like, where was he? But then when he came back, half of it was probably the booking. 80% of it was probably the booking. It was kind of, it wasn't a great thing. So, yes, injuries could be a good thing if, the person is booked correctly. If when you bring them back with a little bit of, pizzazz and impact or something. I feel like even, kind of with injuries, even suspensions could be a good thing. But I don't know if WWE is edgy enough now to use their suspensions to turn somebody extremely heel. Because I felt like even back when Roman got suspended, I felt like they should have had him come out the next night and be like, I don't care that I'm suspended. Just because it would have put that whole protection of the company on him. But back to the injuries thing, yeah, they can definitely be a good thing as far as, bringing someone back and making people miss them a little bit. Like, because I feel like, you know, injuries, taking some time off, and all of that can definitely be a good thing. And I feel like it kind of gives these wrestlers some time off that they otherwise don't necessarily get because the schedule is so hectic.
Yeah. But you were saying about suspensions. That really worked real well for Eva Marie. I'm waiting for her to come. Oh, right. She got.
Yeah, you might be waiting a little long on that one.
Oh, that was awesome.
But kind of before I go to Chris and Cameron, I wanted to add to the Roman thing. I do think for that it was booking because, like I said, they didn't change anything about him. He was still the big guy from the Shield. I think that's one of the biggest issues that at least me and DJ have had with Roman is they don't change him. Like, they don't let him have his own personality. And we've seen, if you go on the network now, you can see older NXT episodes where he had a different gimmick and it kind of showed what he can do personality-wise. Now he's just the guy from the Shield. They don't change his.
And like I said before, for him, it handcuffs him too. Because how far can you go with this, you know, gimmick from a faction? I've always said, who kept their gimmick from a certain faction or a tag team and was great? There's not a long list of them.
It's a fair point.
Marty Jannetty. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Chris or Cameron, any thoughts on anything we've said, or do you have anything to add to the topic?
Cam, you want to go first?
Yeah, all right, that'll work. I was trying to figure out how we were going to do that. I think that DJ, I think you made a good point about it could be good or bad, and I understood what you meant by that. I think it depends on who the wrestler is, right? Like with Cena or Reigns, it would probably benefit us to not see them for 3 or 4 months. The thing with Cena is we had a chance to miss him when he was injured, but he's just so freakish that he came back in like half the time. So we didn't have a chance to fully miss
Every
him.
single time.
And also, I don't think people endear themselves to missing him when they know he's off TV because he's filming a movie or a TV show. When you're off TV because of Hollywood, I don't think people endear themselves to a comeback unless you're The Rock, right? Like he's just in a different scenario altogether there. I think where it does not benefit people is when you're a mid-carder. Like when Zack Ryder came back 2 weeks ago, I forgot he was gone. And then I saw him on camera and I was like, oh yeah, it's Zack Ryder. Oh yeah, he's been injured. Oh, I guess he's back. Yay for hype bros. Please no. Right. So it depends on who you are. Like if you're a mid-carder, people probably aren't going to care that much. I think when you're a main guy though, I think that's when it becomes give them a chance to be missed, you know, but they're so freaking durable that it's just, you know,
that's true. And I'll give you another comparison that's kind of, it's very much older. Back when Triple H had that ridiculous quad injury, like it was the biggest thing.
Oh man.
Like, yeah, like it was crazy. Like the pop he got when he came back. And that's kind of, you know, how it is too. When you talk about kind of main event guys, like, I mean, I can't tell you a doggone mid-carder that came back from injury. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad he's back. But
can we talk about
took the point.
Yeah.
We talked about Vince McMahon blowing out both his quads.
Historic.
That took some talent.
Not only he looked at Triple H and said, "I'm going to one up you here, and I'm going to do it in the same scenario."
And you know, I'm going to do it sliding into the ring.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, we talked about how it helps more with like the upper card guys, not so much the mid card guys. But I think one of the other issues is when we have a guy out, like when Cena was injured, or if Roman gets injured, or whoever is in that, top spot that Vince loves, when they're out, they don't bring any of those mid-carders up. They don't push those mid-carders that should have that chance. And I think that's a big, that's a perfect opportunity. And we've talked about it, when even when they're not injured, when you have a part-timer like Lesnar, why aren't you pushing other titles? Why aren't you pushing other guys? It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. But then again, I can't get in the mindset of a 70-some-year-old man who thinks it's 1983.
Fair point.
Very true.
Yeah. I think and I don't know, Chris, did you have anything before I take all of your?
Yeah, I was going to bring up what DJ said. I always think back to the Triple H pop that he got at Madison Square Garden.
Sure.
Cena coming back in the Rumble, Edge coming back in the Rumble.
Yeah.
Jericho gets it when he leaves and he comes back, and it's not even for injury.
Yeah.
But when I think of like mid card guys, the last mid carder that I remember that got a pretty big pop when they returned was Cesaro after Mania.
Yeah.
When he was in that Fatal 4-Way last year. But I mean, if you look to when Strowman came back, like the pop he got was monstrous because people were clamoring for him, mostly to kill Roman Reigns. But to each their own. And but I feel like it's just different scenarios. I feel like it's how you go out and how long you're out.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see Roman down the line because Roman came back super quick too. And if Roman stays durable, which again, it's one of these catch-22s, like you want your guys to be healthy, but does that play a factor in that I'm seeing you 6 days a week, knowing you're always around? If Braun continues to stay durable, it'll be interesting to see if he falls into that category as well.
Yeah. And I think not only, with the main event guys like the Cenas and the Lesnars and the Reigns, not only do you, like you said, you see them weekly, then you see them making movies, but also I guarantee if you walk into any, retail store, you're going to see a bunch of just Cena action figures and Roman action figures. So even with that, you can't get time away from them to kind of, reset your mind, and I think these guys need that, especially Roman. I think out of all these guys we've talked about, Roman needs that time off. Even if it's not an injury, they need to somehow write him off TV for a couple months, which I know Vince won't do because he's a big guy and Vince likes big muscular men that wrestle. But I think that
I'd be sad though. I'm gonna be honest. I'd personally be sad because I think I turned into a Roman fan because everybody else was like, I hate Roman. And I was like, well, I want an original opinion. So I'm going to be a Roman fan. And when I actually watched him, I actually realized he wasn't as bad as people thought he was. Which sounded like something I'd say in a football video. But he wasn't as bad as he seemed. But a lot of it was just, well, I don't like Roman. Okay, no, I don't like Roman. Well, he said he didn't like Roman. Now I don't like Roman.
Yeah. Chris and I went on a huge rant today.
Yeah.
That it was a like a train stopping rant. Like we were on a good track and then just.
It's turned into the mob mentality.
Yeah, it honestly has.
Like, oh, these guys are booing for him, I'm gonna do it too. And now it's almost like a joke. I feel like booing for Reigns now is the "Let's go Cena sucks" chant. Like, because I've made the argument multiple times. Outside of a man named AJ Styles, Roman Reigns has been the best wrestler in that company for the past 2.5 years. Consistently.
And the thing that people love people who can tell a story in the ring, and he can tell one like no other,
Mhm.
and people won't give him any credit for it.
Yeah.
God,
Not
I need
only
to make a Roman Reigns rant.
but not only that is people are like just salivating for him to turn heel. They want him to turn heel. Oh, if he doesn't turn heel, I'm not gonna like him. Since before WrestleMania, he's been quote unquote running heel for the most part.
Yeah.
But people are so blind by the hatred of him at this point, they just don't see it.
You're telling me
That's
that
true.
promo that he cut in the ring the night after Mania wasn't a heel promo in every definition of the word?
It was the greatest thing ever.
That might be the most historic promo of all time.
Yeah, I mean, between just awesome and between like non-storyline awesome promos, Reigns and then Triple H shooting on all the internet fans, saying I'm angry, I'm going to go online and I'm going to tweet about it. And me and my friend Mark, well, we're just not going to show up anymore. I think just non-storyline promos like those two are my favorite in the last 10 years.
Yeah. It's just the booking of him. I think a lot of it that fans hate is just, I mean, he was pushed really fast and really hard. And he did start, like you said, since Mania, he started to, turn heel. But I think for a lot of the fans, it wasn't soon enough. Like, we wanted him to be heel a long time ago. And at this point, and it's usually the casual fans that are just, oh, he sucks. We don't really pay attention to wrestling that much. But
I don't know if I'd say that, Casey. I don't know if I'd say that because I think it's some of the hardcore fans too saying, "Oh, he's not my indie darling, so I can't like him."
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one way to get to WWE. I've said it before, but I think we did a video on this anyway.
But the hardcore fans are watching NXT. So.
True.
But here's my thing too, like, and I know we're getting on a tangent about Reigns here, but I like this tangent. I always love these tangents because I love hearing people's ideas about it. Is, even like Rosenberg talked about it on Bring It to the Table. When he was in the Shield, everybody was saying, that's the guy we want. And then he got the push, and everybody was like, well, we didn't want it like this. So what's it going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when the Shield, reunited for that half second and put AJ through the table, that place went nuts. And it was all centered around Reigns. Because Reigns is the guy that slams him through the table. And like last Monday, when Reigns speared Braun off the table, that place popped like crazy for 2 seconds. And then they realized that Roman did it, and they started booing again.
That's the stupidity. Like last year's Mania, not this past one, but the year before, when he speared Stephanie, he speared Triple H to the barricade, and then speared Triple H to win the title. He all got pops, and then consistently, like 2 seconds after, got straight booed again.
Yeah.
So that's what I just think it's funny now.
It's really actually fun watching this.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like these fans are conditioned to where they think they're supposed to not like him. Like, in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm not supposed to like him. I'm supposed to hate him. Boo. And then when you see something cool like that, your natural reaction is to pop. Oh, that was awesome. But then it pops back in their mind. Oh, wait, no. I'm supposed to. Everyone else hates him, so I gotta be like them. Boo! He sucks.
Yeah.
And I've seen it at live shows too. Like, I've seen these people actually react like that, and it's crazy. Just people can't just be themselves and just like what they like. If you like him. Don't put on an act that, because the guy next to you is saying, I hate Roman, doesn't mean you have to.
Or if you go ahead.
I think that's the mentality that wrestling has gotten to in some aspects, is just because an arena full of people are doing something, you think, oh, I need to fit in. I need to, chant what they're chanting.
Yeah. Or even if you don't like him, have a reason, right? Like I'm all for, and Chris and I try and preach this, that we're all for civil disagreement. Like I'm good on that. I'm never gonna, just blatantly, just disrespect somebody because they don't agree with my thought process. The problem where I get mad is have a reason why. If I ask you, if somebody says Roman Reigns sucks, and I say, well, why? And you say, because he sucks, you have immediately lost all credibility, and I will stop the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, I think he sucks because this, and this, I'll at least give you the time of day to talk about it because you have more than a reason than, and you shrug your shoulders. Just give me a reason. Give me a reason why you think somebody's great. Give me a reason why you think somebody's good, and we'll talk about it. But it's these guys that are like, he sucks. Why? Because he sucks. Well, thanks, genius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've consistently called Reigns the LeBron James of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Where regardless of how good he does, how good he is and what he does, he's still gonna have those haters that say he's not good enough.
True. And the thing is too, like, who gets the biggest pop?
Exactly.
Roman freaking Reigns. And like people are like, oh, I hate Roman. I wish he was off my TV. Well, quit popping for him so hard when he comes out.
One of our buddies on the show, he pointed out that Cena promo Tuesday, no one cared until he said Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, here's the thing. WWE watches each segment and they tick who's watching in segment 1, who's watching in segment 2, and then they tick it by hours. Who's watching in hour 1, who's watching in hour 2. Here's what you do. Every time Roman Reigns' face shows up on a Raw segment, change the channel. And I guarantee you in 2 months, the people that are doing those stats are going to start to realize, oh, everybody leaves when we show Roman Reigns. Wow. Then you'll get them to ask a question and maybe change some stuff. But if you're watching him while complaining about him, you're shooting your own self in the foot.
And kind of going on that same point, and me and DJ have talked about this multiple times, the live crowd.
Mm-hmm.
When Roman comes out, or back when everyone hated Cena, when Cena came out, they were reacting. And whether you're booing, whether you're cheering, you're still reacting. If you want something to change, don't react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Be silent. Sit in your chair. Be a Japanese crowd, basically, except it's different because we're in the U.S. But
right. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is follow WWE on Snapchat. When they do their live shows, they'll record some during every Reigns match, and when he comes out, he gets a huge pop.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what's it going to be? Because you're on TV, you want to act cool and do what the cool kids are doing, or do you want to actually be a fan and stick by a guy that you like?
They love to hate him, and they will, and half of them will never know why.
I got another debate that I want, or discussion I want to do in the future, because I've been thinking about this so much, man. Especially because of how wrestling fans are in general. Mm-hmm. I was curious, and I don't know if we want to talk about this now or if we want to do this in a separate thing, but I've always been curious to why with wrestling fans, you're not a true wrestling fan unless you watch every single company. But a football fan wouldn't say, oh, you're not a true fan unless you go watch Canadian football and arena football and college football and whatever, insert general football here. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that was weird. Like, I always thought that was a topic of debate. Like, what really makes you a real wrestling fan? Like,
mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Actually, I've never thought about it that way. Dang, that's a good question.
It's really good.
Yeah, that is. That's. I think for me personally, I'm not going to answer for anybody else. For me, it's not so much that you watch every wrestling company and that is what makes you a true fan. It's that you can watch wrestling, right? Like if an NFL, if a Canadian guy is like, you need to come watch the CFL. Well, if the American football fan just sits there and rags on it for 3 hours, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, their lines are wider. Why is that? How come they can get a running start? That's pretty stupid. Nobody plays defense, blah, blah, blah. Why is there so much offense? If you hate it before you even see it, it's tough to have a conversation, right? Like Chris and I are huge soccer fans. We'll watch European League and La Liga and World Cup stuff, and then we'll go watch MLS. And it's just because we're soccer fans. Like we just enjoy it. I enjoy all wrestling. I'll watch all wrestling. I may only like one or two companies, but I'll watch any of it because I am a wrestling fan. So for me personally, that's how I make that distinction between the two.
I like that. That's a good point.
It's a good point. I mean, you can see it now with the rise of New Japan. I mean, people look at it and go, they don't sell. They don't tell stories. Or when they do sell, oh, he oversells. He makes it look stupid. It's corny. It's cheesy. Like, okay, so why do you continually watch?
Too, they'll say, oh, the storylines, they're not, there's not a lot of storylines, It's just like, I'm better than you. I'm the best in the world.
Yeah, they get that a lot. I mean, and here's the thing I love, though, is like the people that proclaim to hate people yet still follow them on social media just to talk crap about them.
I love that.
I love that.
The amount of like therapy just in that alone is yearly.
Yeah.
But you're right. I'm the reason why why I'd like to think I'm a quote unquote true wrestling fan is because I just want wrestling to be good. Because when everybody's good, everybody steps their game up. And for 15 years, the WWE is just set on their butt because they haven't needed to do anything else. They've needed to do just enough. Their competitive juices aren't completely flowing because you can only compete with yourself for so long until you realize it's literally just us.
Yeah.
It's like a really good high school track team that they put 2 relay teams in the 4x1 and then they finish 1-2. And it's like you're competing against each other, but you blew away the rest of the field and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I compare it to Madden too.
Sure.
Like Madden back when, ESPN 2K5, arguably the greatest football game of all time that people still say.
Preach.
Like, I mean, I still got the doggone game.
I did too.
Like, back when that, Madden was nowhere near for a couple of years. Even after, 2K5 wasn't even there. And there's still an argument that people would say, ESPN 2K5 is still beating out Madden. And like, I feel like Madden is like that now, where there's nobody else to compete against. There's no other competition, so they can coast. They can keep the same game every single year and just update the rosters, just update this little thing here, this little thing there, and eventually maybe get to where we want them to be.
Yep, polish the graphics, update the rosters. I mean, you could have the same Madden game since 2008 and just download it, updated rosters, and you'd play the same game.
Yeah.
That's what WWE is. They're just putting out the same product every year, except tweaking who it is and changing a storyline in one way and then running with it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a bad, it's not a bad thing. It's not like I'm trying to bash WWE. I want all of wrestling to be in a good spot because that way everybody competes with everybody. And that's when you get your fun. Everybody says, right, like it's common knowledge, wrestling was at its peak when WWF and WCW were going head-to-head every Monday. That was it. That was the pinnacle of wrestling in competition because everybody was tuning in. What's going to happen next? Everybody had their spot. I am so WCW and I am so WWF. And they would argue about, this brand's better and this brand's better. But they were on an even field. You could make the argument because they were going up against each other every day or every Monday, every week. And I want to get back to that. I want to get back to the glory days of wrestling that our generation hasn't had yet. In the sense that like I was 12 when the Monday Night Wars were happening, so I remember them. But yeah, I wanted to get back to that, so that's why I watch all wrestling because I'm just excited to see where it's going.
Yeah, see, I was 1 when it started.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like a sad soul right now. Like I keep watching the Monday Night Wars on the network, just trying to like get myself back there, please.
I remember between 98 and 2002, I guess, were really the pinnacle years.
Yeah.
99 and 2002. I remember my dad would wake me up to watch an NWO segment. Like that was what we did in my family. Like we watched Monday Night Wars with my dad on Monday and my mom and my brother. It was like a family event. It was great.
Yeah, I was 5 really when I first remember recalling watching wrestling, and even from what I recall from my small unformed brain of mine, which I'm still coping with today, that was consistently the best because it had that watch factor. I haven't had that. Damn, I gotta watch Raw, or I really gotta watch SmackDown because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The last time it was that, the only time I feel like that is after a Big Four pay-per-view, realistically.
Sure.
Like after WrestleMania, I wanted to see what's Roman Reigns gonna say because it's gonna be nuclear heat.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, nothing. Go ahead.
Real quick too, we got a comment. Daniel Cardwell from Wrestle Talk Media, which I am the king of, by the way. I mean, sorry, I apologize. I forgot. ICWP Wrestle Talk Media. He said it was the best when it was the territories. And I've heard that argument too. And
Sure.
I said in our previous video, I said that, if it was best, this is the best time to be a freaking wrestling fan. Then you got all these independent companies that you can go and watch. And I've also, made the argument that there's a lot of people that say, oh, it was best when there was, when it was the Attitude Era. I can't watch wrestling because WWE is not like it used to be. But I've always said there's, you may not like WWE, but there's probably an independent company that you would freaking really enjoy if you stepped away from watching WWE because it's not like the Attitude Era anymore.
Sure.
Also, kind of going off that, and you were saying earlier you just want good wrestling. I feel like, and I constantly think about this all the time these days, is what is good wrestling anymore? Just because there's so many different styles now, there's so many different companies, and there's people who say, oh, only the old school stuff is good. All this new high flying super kicks it's all just acrobatics, and then the new generation loves that stuff. So it's kind of like, is there really just one good wrestling? Because something might be good to you, but I might think it's boring and desperately want to watch something else. And it also, I respect Dave Meltzer, and I love him, but and we were talking about this on an episode a while back. He's just because Dave Meltzer says this match is a 5-star match, and this match is like a 2-star match, I might watch that 2-star match, and personally for me, it might be a 5-star match. So it's like it's so hard to say what definitively what good wrestling is, just because everyone and I think that's where I feel bad for big companies like WWE who are trying to get so many demographics. You can't please everybody, You can't please the old school fans. You can't please the young fans. It would suck to have that job. As much as we talk about how, if we, got in there and were able to book the show, we'd book it so much better. We wouldn't.
Like you said, it's so hard too because there are so many people to please. When you go and watch freaking football, it might change, but there's not as many differences in football as there have been in wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, football just generally there's the same teams, except, one team may, move to LA and get big hype that they're going to be great, and then they end up still being the Rams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but I like how you made that point of, the opinion base, because I feel like me and Cam talk about this so much. I like Dave Meltzer. I respect him. I like seeing what he has to say. Sure. But people get so butthurt about his opinion. Like, he made the scoring system up because he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
People get so butthurt and cry when their favorite match is like the WrestleMania 25 with Taker and Michaels. It got a 4.5 out of 5, and people to this day are still crying about why it wasn't a 5-star match. It's his opinion. It shouldn't matter what anybody else thinks. If you like something, like it.
Yeah, that's when you kind of look at him and go, the scoring system isn't real, right? Like, there's a whole lot of whose line is it anyway going on up here. Like, everything's made up and the points don't matter. The star system doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you just kind of want to look at him and go, Is anything turning between your ears right now that will let you understand it's not real? It's all fake.
Yep.
Yeah, like you just said, it literally is whose line is it anyway. That's what professional wrestling is.
It
It's
is.
straight up. The points don't matter.
Oh,
Yes, Lesnar is the champion. Doesn't really matter. It's not like it's literally a belt. That's really all it is when it boils down to it.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. You don't have to follow that because Lesnar's the champion. Like my favorite thing on Raw right now might be Titus O'Neil.
Yeah.
I'm not really watching Raw for Lesnar. Now, the Lesnar Joe thing's been awesome the last month and a half. But I'm kind of watching Raw because I want to see what the heck Titus O'Neil does next.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can agree with that because SmackDown, I haven't watched much of SmackDown, but dang on it, I'll tell you before, before Money in the Bank, I definitely went back and watched all of Jinder Mahal's promos and all of that build up to that match. Because that's all I wanted to see.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, me and Cam have, the running gag of Kevin Owens being the fourth best wrestler with the initials KO. I don't care about him on SmackDown, really. I care about the Fashion Files because it is hilarious. I care about the Usos because they're doing incredible work. And Jinder Mahal. Like, that's why I love wrestling. Everybody can have their own opinion. Everybody can be right because it's their opinion.
And that's the other thing, too, is you don't have to watch every minute, every week to consider yourself a WWE fan. Going back to what you were saying, DJ?
Yeah.
There are like, what, 8, 6, 7 hours of wrestling every week through the WWE and everything they do. I'm good to watch like an hour and a half of it and consider myself a fan. I'm okay on that. Now, we decided to start cutting a podcast, so all of a sudden I got to watch all of it now, or as much as I can, because I want to stay on top of things. But it's okay to be a genuine fan and only watch like 1 or 2 hours a week of it, and then you catch the rest on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, and kind of this same with us. Like we used to do, the SmackDown reviews, the Raw reviews, but there's just so much that we cut it down to just, the NXT reviews and the 205 Live reviews because that's what we've been enjoying watching all the way through.
Sure.
And that's the thing. Like, also, I think wrestling fans forget to have fun with it. Like, that's what we grew up with. Like, it being fun and like they get too serious about it. Like, I love guys like Jack Gallagher and James Ellsworth because I have fun with their gimmicks and with their storylines, and people are just too serious about it, I think.
Agreed. And I've told people too, like I've been doing like pay-per-view reviews or whatever, and I'll be like or we'll do predictions, and I'll be like, quit Roman Reigns, for example, quit taking Roman Reigns may win this match so seriously. Go sit down, cheer for, let's just say, Braun Strowman, and cheer for him as hard as you can and act like he's going to win. Quit taking, like, I feel like because we feel like we know everything, that's why we can't enjoy it, anymore. And sometimes the best time you have watching wrestling is sitting down, cheering for whoever you want to cheer for as hard as you can. If they win or they lose, you still had fun watching that doggone match.
Yeah, like Chris and I were at NXT Lakeland House show on Thursday night, and Doze from Heavy Machinery is hilarious.
I love that man.
He cracks me up. And my one of my favorite characters now quickly is becoming is Velveteen Dream.
Yes.
He is awesome.
Oh my God, he's amazing.
He just wears his character. And it's so perfect the way he does it. And he just has fun with it. You can tell that's a dude that puts on that outfit, costume, wrestling gear, whatever you want to call it, and just has a bunch of fun with what he's given because it just seems like genuinely like he likes it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's such a great character. It was so much fun to watch those two, especially live and so close because you could hear them. And there's stuff they're saying, and like Doze half the time doesn't even speak English with stuff that he says, but it's hilarious.
And I think that's it too, is you can tell the guys who are having fun with it, who are really, it's not just a job. They're having fun. This is what they love to do. And then to an extent, you could still tell the guys who are, and I don't want to say just in it for the money, but just, go in, have their match, and,
Going through the motions.
Yeah. And I feel like you just naturally have more fun with the guys, on NXT now, or, the guys who are just having fun. And it's not just NXT, but I feel like that's where a lot of the guys are now, that are still having fun with it. Obviously, they're trying to impress to, eventually make it to the main roster. But a lot of those guys, you can just tell they're having fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at Goldust. He's had that gimmick since like 1945. Like, he's having fun with it. He loves it. It's gone through some changes, but that's him.
Yeah, I mean, if you like you said, look at NXT in the main event that we saw Thursday, it was I think his name's Dan Matha and the Velveteen Dream versus No Way Jose and Drew Galloway. Man, why do I always want to call him Drew Galloway? Drew McIntyre.
No, that poor man.
But No Way Jose and Velveteen Dream in that match, you can tell they love what they do and they're having fun with it. And now on the main roster, you can look at someone like Breezango and go, they're having fun with what they're doing. And it rubs off on people.
And I think you can also say that about other things too. The flip side of that, like you can tell Aleister Black is really comfortable in his gimmick because he doesn't say anything and he walks slow and he looks creepy. Yeah, and I think also you can tell the Usos are having this. They're being rejuvenated in this new gimmick that they're getting because it's closer to them. It's more comfortable. So it goes on both sides of the spectrum when you're outgoing or when you're, an introvert, because that's who you really are.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think, and I've said this a lot, I think the guys who are allowed to be more of themselves, I think they naturally have more fun with it and are more successful. You look at all these guys who, even Austin, when he, went to Stone Cold Steve Austin, it's more, close to who he is as opposed to, a gimmick or a character. It's still a character, but, when you allow these guys to show their personality more and not just be like, okay, you're this character, this is your script, this is what you do, go out and do that. Because then it's not fun for them. It's too much to remember. Other than, and then there's exceptions to that, like Velveteen Dream, obviously that's a...
I don't know, Casey. From what you just said, we might need to take a look at this Velveteen Dream because he's doing too good at this character right now.
I was just saying there's exceptions, like... But I mean, that poor man, he went from like Captain America to it was one or the other, and he has having more fun with the Velveteen Dream than the Captain America thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they were doing before.
Chris and I talk about this too, and I think the best, you can go back throughout time for the majority of the best wrestling characters are you just cranked up to 11.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are having the most fun.
Yep. And, coming full circle, because, I'm going to try to bring this back to what we were talking about earlier.
Tied up.
Like a guy like Reigns, if you look at him and the crowd's on him for a couple, like on him, and they won't let him speak, like after Mania, you can tell he was holding back who he really is and what he really wanted to say because he's going, I got to be the company man. Mm-hmm. Like, you can tell when those guys are told you have to be this and you can't go outside of it. You can tell when they're sitting there and they're like, those wheels are turning in their head and they're like, oh, I wish I could just go off on people right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I'm a big fan of the Bullet Club and how they run. They are just them. They don't care. Like it or not, we're going to say what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think talking about Roman again, I think the most fun I've had watching Roman are those times where you can either tell he wants to, break character, or there's been a couple times where, there's been funny segments and you can almost see him breaking character and laughing. And that's what I love, when you kind of because it shows his personality. He is a fun guy. If you've ever watched anything with him backstage, admittedly, some of his interviews with the female interviewers get creepy sometimes, and I'm like, bro, you're married, stop it. Your wife is watching this, but you can tell that's his character, that's his personality coming out. And they just don't let him do it.
You trying to tell me Roman don't got game? Look at that hair, bro. I wish I could grow that hair.
I mean, just because that man's on a diet does not mean he's looking at the menu. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's got the wallet at home, but he can still window shop.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, hey DJ, how's JoJo doing?
We good. We good. We good.
I mean, she
still the love of my life. We gonna work it out.
She's following the buzzards, and the buzzards turned out to be homewreckers. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get off on DJ's quote unquote girl, going with the Eaters of Worlds, and I'm not gonna talk about what they're doing.
Oh man,
yipes!
That was a softball, and I'm gonna hold back.
Too easy. Too easy.
I mean, I'm gonna take a pause so anybody can make any shots. You wanna? I'm just gonna.
Nope.
All right.
Tempting, but no.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we kind of got off on a bunch of tangents, but that's what we do. That's generally how our discussions go. We start on one topic and then end at something that has nothing to do with the internet.
Funny because our discussions started. We get off on one topic, we go into a Cena rant. Well, you would. And now it's like, we get up on a topic and the Cena rant was replaced with a tangent. So, I think I like the tangent better.
Yeah, I don't do Cena rants anymore because, I mean.
You love him deep down. I get it.
Oh, I
love him.
I will say it out loud. I love Cena.
Oh, God.
I know. It makes Chris mad.
Somebody put the goat emoji up. Let's make a lot of people mad.
No.
Oh God! Don't do it.
Oh, there are people listening to this right now too.
No, not right now. We're not
live streaming through live
on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Cena's the greatest of all time.
Oh God.
Okay, that one was a stretch. That one was for the people watching on Facebook.
I will say I don't hate him as much as I used to, and I used to despise that man. Oh,
I think you cannot. Yeah, Anyways, different rant.
I respect him.
Yeah,
I don't like him.
I think he was awesome. Every time I look at Cena, I just look at him in his Dr. of Thugonomics days, and that's just kind of where I hang out because that's where I remember most from. So I look back on him on his better days. And if you're going to tell me that Hogan is one of the greatest of all time, you cannot tell me that Cena is not also in the terms of wrestling because Cena can wrestle circles around Hogan. And that's saying a lot.
See, and that would go off onto another whole discussion. But, I mean, people say Hogan is the greatest of all time, but have you ever sat down and watched a Hogan match?
My whole life.
I mean, the business is professional wrestling, and there have been worse, but he's not the best.
But Hogan was exactly what his time needed him to be.
Yeah.
As Cena is exactly what his time needed him to be. WWE needed to go global to the 9 to 15-year-olds, and Cena showed up on their doorstep, and they rode him till the wheels fall off.
Plus, too, I want
exactly what they needed him to be.
Plus, too, I can't have anything but respect for a guy who decided to stay with the company and stay the face of the company when it was at its lowest.
Exactly. He's a company dude through and through. And Cena and Chris and I talk about this too. There's a correlation between Cena and Roman hate from the outsiders because they were born and bred WWE guys. They didn't cut their teeth on the indie circuit before they got here. And I think that also, going back to what you were saying earlier, DJ, I think you made that point. Like, the indie fans are like, oh, he's not an indie darling. He didn't earn it out here. I think that's where a lot of the hate from Cena and Reigns come, because they never had to cut their teeth on the indie circuit because they got exactly what they were looking for right out the gate. And sometimes that just happens.
I said it before. If somebody handed you you go into your first job, they're like, you know what? We want you to be the manager. So go ahead. You're not going to take it? Yeah, you are.
Exactly. Yeah, like I'm supposed to turn this down to go cut my teeth in a bingo hall for $25 a night? Sure.
I didn't know that was a prerequisite to get into WWE. It seems like nowadays that's all people look at.
Oh, that's true.
See, we gonna stir up some controversy. I kind of like this.
Well,
I'm a controversial guy. I'll say it how I feel.
That also almost turns the entire indie circuit into the farm system for WWE. And a lot of people are making that argument and they don't realize they're making it. Because they'll say, oh, this guy didn't start in the indies. This girl didn't start in the indies. So I'm not going to respect them on WWE. And then I'll look at them and go, okay, so you're telling me that the indies are the farm system for WWE. And they'll go, oh, no, I would never say that. And I'm like, bro, you just did.
Boy.
So, and I'm not saying what I'm saying is right or what they're saying is wrong. I'm saying that's the argument these people are trying to make, and they're backing themselves into a corner, essentially saying the indies are a farm system for the WWE. So whatever, come at me, bro. I don't care.
Like I'll admit I love the indie guys. I love watching independent wrestling. 9 times out of 10, I would choose an indie show over anything on WWE. But I don't necessarily hate the guys. Like I get, if you were given this huge contract to, sign with WWE, whatever, take it. My problem is more when they're pushed too hard and too fast. Not only is it they're not good in the ring, but then that risks your other talent. If somebody doesn't know how to work in the ring and you push them too quickly to the main roster, that's when people are going to get hurt. That's when, bad things are going to happen. And we've seen that a couple of times with people who are just, and it's not that they can't, learn and that they're not going to be good. It's just they're pushing them too hard to the main roster. They're not getting that time in NXT or wherever to kind of learn in the ring. And I think that's what people don't understand is you have to learn. You can't just, jump in the ring and automatically, be able to put on a perfect, match.
But also you learn through experience. If you just throw me out there,
true,
eventually I'll get it.
I mean, a perfect example of that would be Baron Corbin. Look at him. Came in directly after football. And I mean, like a guy like Reigns, but let's step off that. Like a guy like Corbin, right now, he is gaining so much experience because he's working with the likes of AJ, with Sammy, with KO. He's working with these main eventers. And he's just absorbing everything they're giving him.
I could also go the other route, DJ, you saying, oh, sometimes it's just good to throw people in there and let them work and let them figure it out. When you do that, it could work like Corbin, or you could be an inch and a half away from taking a Styles Clash wrong on SmackDown Live because you suck.
Sure.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Chinzilla over there.
But also, I think with Corbin, he was in NXT for a while, so he did get time to kind of learn. It wasn't like, he came right from the NFL and was put
I'll
right
give
in
you
the roster.
another one, Casey, that everyone really loves and respects and might even say is the greatest women's wrestler in WWE history, Trish Stratus.
Yeah, but that's a whole different. I will give you that Trish Stratus and Lita were the best for their time, but look at what women's wrestling was at that time.
True.
Right, but also, if I would argue, if those two weren't around, what would women's wrestling be right now? And would it exist in the WWE level? Like, they saved it. Those two are the only reason why they kept the women's roster outside of some of them looked half decent in a bikini.
Yeah.
And then you have the likes of
Ivory Suicide Dive also saved women's wrestling. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and then you have the likes of like Mickey James and China who came around.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah. So I think you're right though, and the Corbin thing is really interesting because he never touched wrestling until he got into NXT, which was only a couple years ago.
Yeah.
His whole wrestling life has been the last 60 months. No, not 60. It has been the last 36 months. That's pretty impressive for where he is now.
Maybe, but he still has trouble falling out of the ring.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, how good really are
He's a big guy. He's not used to falling.
I mean, but it's gravity. Like, how do you?
But he was also a football player, and in football, you're taught never to fall, especially if you're a lineman. So he's going against everything he was taught since he was like 4.
True.
But we're big. Chris and I are huge Corbin fans.
I think me too.
On our first ever podcast, we started our own hashtag Push Corbin, and like we talked about Corbin almost a year ago on our first podcast being the next big breakout guy. So we feel good about where he is right now. He
should have been Intercontinental Champion.
100%.
I had my ups and downs with Corbin. I loved him in NXT. I thought he had that it factor. But then when he was brought up to the main roster and he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I was excited. And then it felt like they just forgot about him.
They did. That's the curse. It's the same.
I think that trophy's just cursed at this point.
It is. It's like the Madden cover.
Please tell me one of you loved the Revival, please.
Oh, the Revival? Yes.
Love the Revival. Also love the hashtag FTR. I love both.
Yes.
But love the Revival. They're awesome.
Yeah. They are old school tag team wrestling at its finest.
And we love watching it, man. They're you pick apart a body, you cut the ring in half, quick tags. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Casey's not a fan. I love it.
I mean, but to that same extent, I love watching the Young Bucks matches. And this comes back to wrestling. I love watching the high-flying super kicks, over the top rope. But I also sit down and watch a Revival match where they sit there for 35 minutes and cut the ring in half.
Yeah. And then exactly, yeah. Like, I'll watch Will Ospreay and then turn around and watch Zack Sabre Jr. And I'll enjoy the heck out of both of them.
True.
For 2 very different reasons. But one common reason is they're both really good at wrestling.
Yeah. Like, I like the Revival. I feel like, and I joke about this all the time, is WWE and wrestling in general likes to put people that I like in feuds against each other. So they were in a feud with DIY, and I was like, man, why? Same with the Vaudevillains and Enzo and Cass. I hated the Vaudevillains in NXT, and then they came to the main roster, and I loved them. And now they are no longer.
And they should be no longer, I think. That might get some heat. I don't know. I don't mean it that way. I like English better. I think English has a better chance as a solo artist. Pun intended. Boom.
I think it was funny because I think Casey and I both like Simon Gotch better.
Really?
Am I wrong, Casey?
He just finished his 90-day no complete cause, so I'm excited. I don't know. I feel like Simon Gotch for me was pushed into a tag team immediately, and I didn't really get time to I like him, but I didn't get time to see really what he could do. Like I saw a couple of his indie matches before WWE, but I'm excited to see him on his own.
Sure, I can agree with that.
And that's a really tough thing, like especially with some of these guys that get handcuffed. Like you see them working indie matches. Like Kalisto is a great example of this.
Yes.
You go back and watch some of his indie stuff, and you go, "Why is this guy not a superstar in WWE?" But that's not Vince's style, and that's why I was a huge proponent of the cruiserweights. But I knew that they would be handcuffed when they were on the main roster because Vince goes, "That's not how we wrestle here." And it's turned into mat-based technical wrestling, which I'm still a fan of, but you don't get to see what you saw at the Cruiserweight Classic.
Also true. That's why the best show of cruiserweights ever was WCW. Ever. That's the best roster of cruiserweights ever put together on one show full time.
See, what I loved about the Cruiserweight Classic, and I think DJ will agree with me on this, is it wasn't the typical what you think of with cruiserweights. It wasn't all just high flying. We had guys who were obviously high flyers and did like lucha libre style and things like that, but we also had guys like Zack Sabre Jr., who is a technical wizard. I'll say that all the time because I love it.
He is.
You had guys like that, and you had brawlers, and you had the bruiserweight. You had different styles, and now that it's come to the main roster, they've watered it down like they do with everything else. You don't even see half the guys that are on the cruiserweight roster now.
No, like I saw Lindsay the other day, and I was like, oh crap, he's still there.
I think I said the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's new.
Like, as much as I absolutely love the likes of Tyler Bate and, Trent Seven and Pete Dunne, part of me hopes the whole UK scene either gets its own gimmick on a weekly thing like they're trying to do, or it just stays on NXT. Because I'm afraid that if they come main roster, that match you saw at TakeOver Chicago will be the last time you see anything that can be that great. Because I think Vince is just going to continue to handcuff him.
Sure.
And I hope it does become that weekly show that they've been talking about, because those guys need a chance to shine on their own and not be on the main roster, and not even to an extent not be on NXT. They need their own thing. And also, I mean, I get that WWE is a $1 billion company and they have money to throw everywhere, but you made a title. Like, if you're not going to use it, what was the point of making it?
Showcase it.
They just made it so Pete Dunne could carry it around in his mouth. Let's be honest.
I mean, at this point, he's not wrong.
No, you're not. It's good for photo shoots, though.
Like, it does get defended, but it's on like independent show. Like, I saw it was Tyler Bate defended it at a Progress show, WrestleMania weekend that I was at. They don't defend it in WWE, which I don't have a problem with. It was supposed to be a title that can kind of go into different promotions and things like that, but kind of got to see it on TV sometime.
Yeah.
To remind
I would like to.
Like, I would love to see that weekly television show. And if it aired live at 3 Eastern time because of the time difference, I'd watch it.
Yeah, because think about it. You get all those guys there and you sign them and you just let them go. So you've got Dunn and Seven and Bate, and you get Sabre Jr. and you get Will Ospreay and you get those guys and you put them all under one roof and you just say, we're going to pay you a crap ton of money to do everything you want to do every week.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And that's how you make a splash in another country.
Yeah. I hope they keep it the way they were talking about, how, you're not, just stuck with WWE. You can still work other promotions.
Yeah.
I feel like that'll help, because there's guys like Zack Sabre Jr. who, and I said this the other day, he's on different promotions, rosters, but he doesn't really specifically stay with, like, he doesn't say, I'm a so-and-so wrestler or this company or that company. He kind of he in a way reminds me of like a Colt Cabana, who doesn't really stick with one company. He's an indie guy. He goes around where he's booked.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless they do that, they're not going to get a guy like Zach.
Yeah.
I think that's why he didn't sign with WWE, is because he didn't want to, be stuck in one place and kind of,
Yeah, I mean the same with Kota Ibushi too. Like he's like, I still have stuff to do in New Japan and other promotions, so I'm not gonna get locked down here. And I kind of wish they did that more with not only the UK guys, but like some NXT guys, and even this would never happen, but some main roster guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Omega, when he won the US title, was like, I'm scouring the world, and whoever wants to come step at me, let's do this. Let's have the best matches we possibly can. I mean, who would not want to see Omega versus Styles, both with their US titles from their respective companies, go at it?
Oh.
I mean, it'll never, ever happen, but I would love to be able to see some of these main roster guys just pop in one time at an indie show.
Yeah,
and just tear the roof down.
Yeah, you send somebody to Kenny that is a stud that just needs. Kenny will make him a star, and then you bring him back to the WWE, and all of a sudden people kind of want to watch him. Send Kenny Cedric Alexander. Like, why not? He's not doing anything. He's on 205 Live. Send him to Kenny to fight him for the U.S. title. He'll lose. They'll put on an incredible 40-minute match, and all of a sudden people kind of want to watch Cedric Alexander a little bit more when he goes back to the Cruiserweight show.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many dream matches that WWE, if they were smart, they would allow to happen. Like how big the Bullet Club versus the New Day would have been, and they were teasing it. Like the Bullet Club wanted it. Like the Young Bucks, they wanted it. How huge.
Yeah, we actually did a whole episode where Chris and I fantasy booked, Chris mostly, fantasy booked WrestleMania New Japan WWE mix.
Yeah. I got it on my phone still.
Yeah, it was sick. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his co-host. It was sick.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And I mean,
pride, ego.
Yeah, like WWE would think it was an indictment on them if they lost. They'd be like, "Oh, well, we feel like the inferior company," and WWE just can't feel like that.
I mean, they still do it to the day. Look how they did Sting.
Yeah.
Sting losing to Triple H at Mania was just that one last kick in the nuts to WCW.
Sure. I think Triple H might be more apt to entertain the idea. I think he'd still say no to 99% of it, but he'd be more apt to entertain the idea where Vince doesn't even let it get to the receptionist before it's burnt.
Well, you can see he's more apt because look at the Cruiserweight Classic.
Sure.
Like, he and Regal handpicked all those guys, and he knew Sabre Jr. and Ibushi weren't going to sign full-time.
Sure.
Like, he knew that. But he was like, screw it. We're going to go out and we're going to find the best at what they do.
Yep.
And I think to an extent, like the closest we're getting right now is, the things that they've, worked together with like Progress and ICW. But when you boil it down, that's really just WWE wants to eventually take their talent. WWE's not looking to work with them. They're basically making a farm system for themselves. Oh, these guys are good. We'll take them off your hands. It's not, oh, we'll send our guys over to your company to, help you out. Which I wish they would do. Look how it worked out pretty well when they worked with like ECW. It wasn't terrible.
I mean, could you think, because they were talking about putting like ICW and Progress and I think OTT on the network and allowing them to showcase what they had on the network because they were going to have that working relationship.
Yeah.
And could you imagine like a Progress match with like Will Ospreay and then he's facing Drew McIntyre and then out of nowhere Finn Balor's music hits and they have a triple threat on the network? Like, it's best for every company, but again, Vince is that egomaniac that just wants to buy out everything and rule the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised they had, you know, these indie show, you know, promotions come in on Access and have matches at Access. Like that blew my mind itself, because I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Actually allowing this?
Yeah, the whole reason at the UK tournament they had those heads of those companies sitting ringside was to kind of grease the wheels there to get that working relationship. And I don't know if it fell through or if Vince got cold feet, which is probably what happened, because he was probably telling them, listen, you're going to be on our network, but here's what you can't do, and here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and even on the other side too, on the women's side, like the Progress champion right now, I think is Toni Storm. Still, she's a 21-year-old stud from Australia or Auckland, New Zealand. And you know, what if she's cutting a promo on Progress and all of a sudden like Becky's music hits, or Natty's music hits, or Carmella's music hits, or Alexa Bliss's music hits? And all of a sudden you have a Progress match that's Toni Storm versus Alexa Bliss. You know, there's so many different ways they can work without giving up everything, because they're not going to anyways, and as well they shouldn't. But there's so many ways as a big company for them to work with these smaller guys where they help them out a little bit.
And that could be their way to get out of, okay, you guys wanted this dream match, you got it. Just shut up. But guess what? It still didn't take place in a quote-unquote WWE ring. So it's like, quit complaining.
Yeah, and then you send them somebody like Becky, who you trust. She wrestles Toni Storm, walks back through the curtain, and gives you the thumbs up or the thumbs down on if she thinks she could hang in WWE. And all of a sudden, you're giving people a match that they want at a time they never thought they'd get it, and you're scouting in the ring.
Yeah.
But what do we know? We just have a podcast.
That's a big thing, is they don't, you know, they have all these scouts, but they that's what they need to do, is do something like that where, like you said, a Becky wrestles, you know, Toni Storm, or, you know, somebody else that you trust wrestles an indie guy, to kind of say, okay, this guy's good, or this guy can hang, or this guy can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, you know, guys outside the ring who, you know, are basically, for the most part, kissing Vince's ass and, you know, telling, you know, Vince, oh, this guy's good, this guy's bad, whether they are or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not getting that in-ring, you know, can they really, you know, hang? It's just a whole big debate we could probably go on, that we have, but we can go on so much more that WWE's not doing with these deals that they could make with these promotions, but I don't think we'll ever see it, honestly.
And I mean, you can't tell me it's not beneficial for both companies, because who's the Progress champion right now? Is it still Sabre Jr.?
I think so.
You can't tell me that after Sabre Jr. defends a title, Balor's music hits, he walks out and challenges him at the next pay-per-view, and that you can sell out any arena with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't tell me that's not beneficial for both brands.
Sure.
But
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that CM Punk's pipe bomb still holds true. I think the only time a lot of things change is when Vince is completely away from wrestling.
Yeah, and they're still, you know, they still complain about how, oh, you know, our buy rates or our buys for the network aren't up to where we want them to be. Put something on there that is going to make people want to buy the network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get all the pay-per-views, which is great. That's enough for me to have the network.
Mm-hmm.
But for other fans, give them something that they can't, you know, say no to. Give them an offer they can't refuse. You know, give them these, you know, indie promotions on there. Give them these dream matches. You know, even if it's a one-time thing, it gives them a reason to buy the network. And
Yeah.
then 9 times out of 10, people, at least in my experience, people that have tried the network usually keep it, for at least for the pay-per-views. Because I mean, if you think about it, without the pay-per-views, you're paying way too much money per month for the pay-per-views if you don't get the network. But you need that something for them to want to. You got to put something on that hook for the fish to bite. They're not just gonna bite an empty hook. But yeah, that's that. This discussion went from injuries to pretty much everything in professional wrestling. I think we talked about.
Speaking of injuries, that would be a great way to bring somebody back. A la what they do in baseball.
Yeah.
Somebody gets injured, all of a sudden they do a progress show, and then they do an OTT show, and all of a sudden they're in NXT, and then boom, back up to the main roster.
No, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Why not?
You're not allowed to say that. The internet said so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, internet. Accept my apology. Did they accept it?
I don't know. We'll wait and see.
We'll learn tomorrow.
The internet doesn't accept apologies that quickly.
Oh, jeez. It's in their bylines.
Yeah.
No, I think that would be a cool thing to do. I think give them a tour. Let them have a comeback tour, right? Like when Harper goes down, he gets 20 at-bats in AAA ball before he comes back to the majors. Give somebody 2 or 3 matches, one at Progress, one somewhere else, and then one NXT, and then boom, they're up on the main show. They're back and they're ready to go.
Yeah. That would be logical, but
Well, then I'm so sorry I brought it up.
I was to say, if it's logical, I can't agree with it.
Speak of.
If it's logical, then we hate you.
Yeah. You're too smart right now, so stop. I don't like that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I mean,
Go back to being dumb. Roman Reigns sucks because I said so.
Boo Cena because boo. Cena sucks because those other people are saying, let's go Cena. Yay.
Please tell me y'all saw the petition that fans started saying that Roman was cheating with that vest. It's gotten to that point. There was a petition online signed by thousands of people petitioning against Roman Reigns wearing the bulletproof vest as a quote unfair advantage.
I mean, I can go on both sides of that. I don't think it's an unfair advantage, but I think it's ridiculous when he gets hit in the ribs and then he sells it. And I'm like, you're wearing it.
My favorite was 3 weeks ago when he was fighting Rollins. I think it was the middle of the night or the middle of the TV show. And at one point, Rollins literally tried to hit him with a slap across the chest. I was like, bro, you're an idiot. Seth Rollins is not that stupid that he's going to try and chest slap somebody that's wearing a Kevlar vest. Continuity, people.
WWE doesn't know what that means.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But again, we talk about the suspension of disbelief. And I made I guess this is a fatal flaw in my opinion.
Oh boy.
Saying that I would love to see Neville versus Lesnar. And I got reamed up one side and down the other saying it doesn't look real. I'm sorry. Are we still on that? This is real to us? Did I just let the cat out of the bag?
Wait, what? What are you trying to say, Chris?
I mean, look at the time. Darn, I can't go into depth in this.
Yeah, right.
No, we want to say we want Lesnar versus AJ. It's the same concept.
Exactly.
Neville's freaking bigger. Neville's bigger.
Yeah, and that's the people these same people were clamoring for AJ versus Taker.
Yeah.
Oh, but Taker's 50. He's still 7 foot tall. He's still 300 pounds.
Sure.
And you can't teach that.
Hey, there we go.
And I love the people.
Shoot, even Lesnar versus Shinsuke. in the same breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see Lesnar Shinsuke.
Oh, but then you'll get some of those hardcore fans that'll be like, well, Shinsuke fought MMA. So did Lesnar. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
And Kurt Angle was an Olympic gold medalist, and he lost a match. Like, we're all set here.
Yeah.
But then talking about, suspending your disbelief, wrestling is fake, blah, blah, blah. I love the people, and it's always non-wrestling fans who feel the need to point out that wrestling is fake. And I'm like, it's a show.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you went out and hit somebody with a steel chair, you probably get arrested. So yeah, it's a show. Like,
I mean, it's scripted.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to agree to that? Because yeah, go right ahead. I'll agree to that. But it's anything but fake.
I just felt the way I try to explain it to people, and they're like, I just don't get wrestling. I just always tell them it's an athletic soap opera.
True.
There's bad storylines and good storylines. There's a crap ton of overacting, and every now and then somebody hits a frog splash.
Yeah. But
that's what it is. It's an athletic soap opera. That's all wrestling is. That's how I look at it.
With that wrestling ring, it's basically just a trampoline. It's so soft. It's not.
Yeah.
Not. Anyway, that I think that'll, I think we should cut it off now because it's already 11:32. We'll be here till like 4 a.m. just talking about wrestling.
Thank God you guys are on the East Coast like we are.
Yeah. We got stuff to do tomorrow. There's like a pay-per-view or something going on.
Yeah, where do you guys watch it? Do you guys like hang out in the lair? Just catch it there? Or?
We watch it at the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast headquarters.
Nice. And one day, how do we get invited? Like, can I buy a ticket, or are you selling it at the door, or is it VIP only?
Yeah, you got to know the password. Yeah,
it's probably Justin the Jobber, more than likely.
So it's like one of those cool treehouse forts, like his password, and the parents will never know it.
Yeah, it's like a treehouse fort in my mom's basement.
I mean, we got the same thing. We got our own little bat cave that Cam likes to throw out where our location is, and I have to tell him, hey, it's a bat cave. It's supposed to be secret.
Yeah, because the bat cave in the TV show was real secret.
Hey, suspension of disbelief, man.
That's what we're all about here. That's why I love superhero movies. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I don't ever give out our location a lot. All right, maybe I do.
Somewhere in the East Coast.
Yeah, right. We're in Florida. There you go. I'll give you the state.
We're in the same state as the Performance Center.
Exactly.
I'm in the same state as ECW. So.
Oh, okay. Wow, you guys are all the way out there, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually in the same state as Mickey James's firm.
Nice.
I like that. I like that state.
He does. Chris
I have
is in that state.
I have a certain tie to that state.
He has a son in that state. He does not have a son in that state. That was a joke.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
He doesn't.
I knew I saw someone that looked like you.
Rats.
Oh,
like,
dang.
That's not going to hold up on Mari.
No, you are the father. Dang it. I mean, yay. Come here, son. All right. Well, this went weird.
Anyway, with that, thanks everyone for tuning in, and whoever watched this all the way through, you get a prize.
You get a T-shirt.
Yeah, that we don't have a T-shirt.
Yeah, we don't either. It's cool.
Yeah.
We just give out a lot of false promises when it comes to merch.
Yep.
You know what you can get? if you watch this entire podcast, you can take $10. You can get a signed. No, you don't want anything from Cornette. You don't want that. You don't want that.
We had a rant about that.
No, you don't. I mean, if you really want it, that's cool.
I mean, $4 does go to a charity to help kids in need.
But then there's a story that you have to explain why there's. Oh God, I would just rather donate to the kids with the special needs and not give money to Jim Cornette.
Great point. Great point.
You know,
I respect it.
You're right.
Because I mean, does he really need our money? Probably, but like,
dang,
I'm not giving him my money because he's a dick, and I still am holding what he said against him about Lucha Underground.
Oh dang! All right, fair enough.
Yeah, he said some shit, and I was like, bro, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, Lucha Underground is not that great to their wrestlers apparently.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for sticking around and watching the entire. I'll still think it's something that you get. I'll post it on Twitter. Like you can have this New Day foam finger that I got in the Slam Crate because they gave us a New Day foam finger.
Nice.
You can have that if you watch this whole thing. You comment your favorite Roman Reigns match, and you share the video. So those are the three, and it has to be a real Roman Reigns match. You can't just make something up. You have to watch the entire match and point out three positive things about Roman Reigns in that match.
All right, so that foam finger is never getting given away.
Yeah, right. What about for me and Chris? Can we get the foam finger even though we were here?
If you really want a foam finger where the finger is a unicorn horn and it looks creepy, then yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk about it.
The fact that some children probably got that, it creeps me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just went there. Anyway, make sure to follow us on ICW_podcast. You guys want to shout your stuff out?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Chris.
Oh, come on. You can find us on Twitter at ACM Wrestling. You can find us on Facebook, A Couple Marks Wrestling Podcast. Can't speak. And you can find us on acouplemarks.podbean.com, the home of all of our podcasts.
Yes, you can also, we have an email address, acmwrestling@gmail.com. And lastly, and most importantly, you can find us on theinscribermag.com. And it's at theinscribermag on Twitter. We are wrestling columnists for that particular magazine.
Well, like I said, follow us on at ICW_podcast. You can find us on Twitter at ICW_podcast. On YouTube, you just type in Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast. I think now you can type in like Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, Kings of Wrestling, something like that. But
did you pimp out the new Facebook page we just made?
I was about to get to that. Should I do the Wrestle Talk one, or
I think we should start with that one. Yeah.
Okay. So we actually got 3 Facebook groups. Hashtag ICWP Wrestle Talk Media. You can go check that one out. Then we have a fan page thing, ICW or Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, and then we have another group on Facebook. So if you just type in Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, you'll find it. But we will be back tomorrow for our review of the Great Testicles Ablaze. I'm going to call it that. I don't care.
I think you should really go with that.
It's catchy.
Yeah. Great Testicles Ablaze.
They're the ones who wanted to call it Great Balls of Fire, knowing that there are immature people out there,
like yourself.
and the logo kind of look like some balls. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the logo, they really messed up there.
I really think WWE should make this particular pay-per-view every year a song from that era.
Next year, WWE brings you blue suede shoes.
Exactly, right? You know, it'd be awesome.
I think they should just change all the pay-per-views to songs from different decades. You know? Or just bring back old good pay-per-views.
I mean, they could have an all luchador pay-per-view called Mask Off.
Nice. That is a pretty good. It'd be interesting. What could they do? Well, it'd be interesting to see what else they do.
Well, if it was WWE, it would be all mask versus mask matches.
Exactly.
Mask on a pole.
No, let's be honest. If it was WWE, it would be one mask versus mask match. The rest of them wouldn't even have masks.
That's also true.
Yeah.
They could have one that's just called Congratulations.
Well, see, for a while there, all the pay-per-views were, centered around a match or a theme. I think one of the pay-per-views should be Judy Bagwell on a pole.
Dang.
That should just be the pay-per-view. Judy Bagwell on a pole.
That is unfortunate.
Gee, I wonder who booked that.
Full circle.
Wow. Roasted.
Boom, roasted. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they ever went like the country route for one of those songs. I don't know.
What, like WWE presents Red Solo Cup?
That would be the summer. That would be the lead up into SummerSlam.
WWE presents Achy Breaky Heart.
Ooh, that is all former married or dating wrestlers that have to fight each other or their current husbands, boyfriends, or wives or girlfriends.
They could go parking lot party as an interlude to SummerSlam.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
It's a really good one. There are just so many.
All right,
yeah.
We're gonna sign off of here. With more matches probably, but we will see you tomorrow for the Great Testicles Ablaze.
Thanks for having us, guys.
No problem.